There are nights when the heart goes quiet, not because love is gone, but because it is hiding, waiting, hoping it will not be misunderstood one more time. And if these words found you tonight, maybe you are tired of acting strong, while some secret part of you still wonders if someone out there is holding on to you just as tightly. Before you tell yourself it is over, before you force your soul to move on faster than it is ready, listen closely, because this matters. Someone can love you deeply and still become distant. Someone can care in silence and still fail to reach for you. Someone can miss you, think about you, replay your words and still say nothing at all. That is the painful truth many people learn too late. Not every silent heart is empty. Not every step back means the feeling disappeared. Sometimes silence is the final shelter of a person who feels too much and does not know how to carry it without breaking. Stay with me, because the next part may explain what your mind has been trying to solve for so long. Love is not always loud. It is not always clear. It does not always arrive with perfect words and brave timing. Sometimes it comes wrapped in hesitation, mixed signals, long pauses, and eyes that say more than a mouth ever dares to confess. And that is exactly why so many real connections get mistaken for endings when they are actually battles happening behind the curtain. Human beings say they want deep love. But the moment love becomes real, fear wakes up. The moment another person touches the hidden places inside you, the places you keep covered even from yourself, something old begins to rise. Your unmet needs, your fear of rejection, your hunger to be chosen without conditions, your quiet wounds you thought time had already buried. Real connection does not only bring warmth, it brings exposure. It opens doors inside the soul that have stayed locked for years. That is why someone can feel close to you one day and confuse the next. That is why a person can crave your presence, then pull away right when you need reassurance. It sounds cruel, but often it is not cruelty. It is overwhelm. It is the nervous system reacting to emotional risk. It is a guarded heart realizing that your attention now matters. Your silence now affects them. Your absence now leaves a mark. And that becomes frightening. Because once someone can touch your inner world, losing them becomes possible too. The protected self starts to panic. The old pain starts whispering. The mind begins preparing for a disaster that has not even happened yet. If this feels uncomfortably true, keep listening, because this is where many people misunderstand love. They think distance always means disinterest. But sometimes distance is not lack of love. Sometimes distance is fear wearing a mask. There are people who become cold because they do not care, and there are people who become distant because they care so much that the feeling starts to scare them. The second kind is harder to read because their actions fight against their own heart. One part of them moves toward you, another part steps back. One side wants closeness. The other side whispers, what if this ends like everything else did? What if I get attached and lose it? What if I am seen too clearly and then left behind? So they start protecting themselves from pain before pain even arrives. You may have already felt this strange contradiction, the warm moments followed by silence, the deep eye contact and then sudden withdrawal, the way they remember little things about you with no effort but still struggle to be emotionally steady, the way ordinary conversations feel charged with something unspoken, the way the connection feels alive, yet blocked, like their spirit keeps leaning toward you while their mind keeps pulling the brakes. This is what unresolved hurt often looks like in real life. Not dramatic destruction, not obvious chaos, just quiet patterns, avoidance, mixed signals, emotional retreat. People do not always run because nothing is there. Sometimes they run because too much is there. Stay with me, because understanding this can save you from taking every confusing behavior as proof that you meant nothing, when the truth may be much more painful and much more human. Some people disappear emotionally the moment they start caring deeply because closeness wakes up pain they never healed. Maybe they once loved someone who abandoned them. Maybe they learned early that opening up led to shame, rejection, or being ignored. Maybe tenderness once cost them too much, so now their body treats intimacy like danger even when their heart is begging for it. And the saddest part is that they may not fully understand their own behavior. They may think they are just tired, just confused, just needing space, while something much deeper is controlling the pattern. A person can love you and still sabotage the connection because their inner system links love with risk. They want to come closer, but closeness activates fear. They want comfort, but comfort makes them feel exposed. So they send mixed signals without even having the words to explain what is happening inside. This is why mature love needs patience, not just passion. Passion is easy. Intensity is easy. Desire is easy for a moment. But remaining emotionally open when the fear arrives, that is the hard part. That is where real growth begins. Listen carefully now, because this part can change the way you read silence forever. Silence is not always punishment. Silence is not always emptiness. Sometimes silence is emotional processing happening under the surface where you cannot see it yet. Some people speak the moment they feel something. Others go inward when emotions get too strong. They retreat into thought, into confusion, into private battles they do not know how to share. Especially those who spent years surviving by acting strong, staying guarded, and hiding vulnerability from everyone around them. Their silence may hurt you, yes, but sometimes it is not meant to hurt you. Sometimes it is the only way they know to avoid drowning in what they feel. And this is where relationships start to break in quiet, painful ways. One person reads silence as rejection. The other experiences silence as protection. One feels abandoned. The other feels overwhelmed. One waits for clarity. The other waits to feel safe enough to speak. And little by little, two people who care deeply begin drifting apart, not because the feeling died, but because fear became louder than communication. This is why so many people give up too early. They assume love should always be obvious, easy, steady, and simple. But deep emotional bonds are rarely simple. They shake the hidden parts of us. They expose insecurity, longing, pride, shame, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being too much. Real connection acts like a mirror. It does not only comfort you, it reveals you. It shows both people the pieces of themselves they still need to face. If this is hitting somewhere deep, stay with me, because the next truth is the one most people avoid hearing. Not every emotionally distant person is emotionally empty. Some are just tired. Tired from years of carrying grief no one noticed. Tired from pretending they do not need anyone. Tired from surviving life with a guarded heart because depending on someone once broke them in ways they still cannot explain. Some people secretly long for tenderness, then panic the moment they receive it consistently. Some forget how to trust calm love because chaos became familiar. Some learn to read drama as passion and peace as danger, because peace feels unfamiliar when you were shaped by emotional storms. But there is another truth here, and you must not ignore it. Love alone is not enough without growth. Understanding someone's wounds does not mean you must abandon your own. Compassion matters, but so does self-respect. You cannot keep sacrificing your emotional well-being hoping your love will heal a person who refuses to face themselves. You cannot keep calling confusion destiny just because the feelings are strong. Mature love does not beg for scraps. It does not spend itself trying to prove worth. It does not chase endlessly while slowly losing dignity. Real love can be patient, yes, but it should not require you to disappear inside waiting. It should not ask you to become smaller so another person can stay comfortable in their fear. Hold on to that, really hold on to it, because this is where emotional wisdom begins. You can understand someone deeply and still protect your own peace at the same time. Sometimes the greatest act of love is not forcing the connection, not pushing for answers before the other person is ready, but allowing space while refusing to betray yourself. Growth cannot be controlled from the outside. Nobody changes because they are pressured perfectly. People change when they become exhausted by repeating the same painful cycle. Maybe this connection entered your life not only to bring love, but to wake something up inside you. Maybe it came to show you the difference between attachment and real emotional alignment. Maybe it came to reveal how much you crave reciprocity, clarity, and peace, not just intensity. Maybe it came to show you how often you ignored your own intuition because losing the person felt more frightening than losing yourself. Think about that carefully. Were there moments when your inner voice already knew something before your mind admitted it? Moments when you sensed their feelings underneath their words. Moments when the energy told the truth before behavior made sense. Human beings are more intuitive than they realize. We read emotional shifts, eye contact, Tone, pauses, tension, the weight of silence, the warmth that shows up and disappears. Long before logic catches up, the soul often notices what the mouth will not say. That is why some people stay unforgettable. Not because they were perfect, not because they gave you peace every day, but because they woke up something sleeping inside you, and once a part of the soul is awake, it cannot go back to sleep so easily. Sometimes awakening comes through confusion, through longing, through emotional distance that forces reflection, through missing someone so deeply that you finally confront the loneliness you were hiding from yourself. Pain has a strange function. It removes fantasy. It strips away illusion. It shows you exactly where healing is still needed. That is why some relationships reshape your inner world, even if they never become stable in the outside world. They force growth. They force awareness. They force you to ask hard questions. Why does uncertainty feel so powerful to me? Why do I keep hoping in silence? Why do I confuse emotional intensity with emotional safety? Why do I keep trying to earn what should be given freely? Maybe the other person is standing at the edge of this same awakening right now. Maybe your absence has made them face feelings they tried to bury. Maybe they are beginning to see that emotional avoidance no longer protects them the way it once did. Maybe they are starting to understand that pride can cost more than vulnerability, because eventually many people reach a point where loneliness becomes heavier than honesty. And when that moment comes, change begins, slowly, imperfectly, but truly. They start to notice the walls they built. They start to see how fear shaped their choices. They begin to understand how many chances for real connection they damaged while trying not to get hurt. Stay with me, because this next truth could save your heart from unnecessary blame. The way someone responds to intimacy often says more about their relationship with themselves than about your value as a human being. Many emotionally unavailable people are not withholding because you are unworthy. They are withholding because they are afraid. Afraid of needing someone, afraid of being dependent, afraid of rejection, afraid of losing control, afraid of being seen too clearly. And the harder they fall, the more exposed they feel. That is the contradiction. They want closeness and resist it at the same time. They want to be loved and still hide from the very thing they need. Unless they become aware of this pattern, they stay trapped between desire and fear. But you cannot carry the emotional weight for two souls forever. You can love someone and still choose balance. You can see their pain and still refuse to let it become your prison. Compassion should never become self-destruction. That lesson is one of the hardest and most important lessons the heart will ever learn. Love should expand your spirit, not slowly erase it. And still, despite all this complexity, there are connections worth fighting for. Rare ones, real ones. The kind where two people slowly learn each other's fears with gentleness instead of judgment. The kind where walls soften over time. The kind where healing becomes more important than ego. Those bonds do exist, but they ask for honesty, accountability, courage, and emotional effort from both sides. One person cannot carry the whole bridge alone. If this is resonating, keep listening, because the next piece goes even deeper. Every relationship eventually becomes a meeting with the self. You cannot love another person fully while staying completely disconnected from your own hidden truth. That is why inner work matters, not as a trend, not as pretty language, but as real emotional honesty. It means facing the jealousy you deny, the fear you hide, the loneliness you distract yourself from, the patterns you repeat without noticing, the old wounds you pretend no longer matter. Until those hidden layers are faced, the same pain keeps returning in different forms. Different face, same ache. Different story, same ending. Perhaps this person is finally being pushed to face their hidden self because of this connection. Perhaps your presence became too real to ignore, too honest, too awakening. And even if they have not figured themselves out yet, something inside them knows that what exists between you matters. People do not struggle this deeply over someone who means nothing. Real emotional conflict usually appears where real attachment exists. That is why indifference feels flat and simple, while complicated love feels charged, restless, and intense. When someone truly does not care, the energy goes cold. But when someone cares and is fighting themselves, the energy becomes inconsistent, emotional, and confusing. You feel the pull even when the words are missing. You sense the unfinished story. You keep wondering if you imagined it, but deep intuition rarely appears without reason. Still, listen closely now, because intuition must walk beside wisdom, not in front of it. Do not turn emotional suffering into something sacred just because it feels deep. Do not become addicted to uncertainty simply because intensity can feel meaningful. Some people stay trapped in painful dynamics because unpredictability creates emotional addiction. The nervous system gets attached to the highs and lows, the longing, the relief, the silence, the return, the hope, the confusion. After a while, calm love can even feel strange or boring to someone who learned connection through emotional chaos. That is why healing changes attraction. Healed people stop chasing confusion to feel alive. They begin to value steadiness, peace, honesty, and emotional safety. They stop calling unavailability depth. They stop trying to earn love through pain. And maybe this whole experience is leading you toward that realization too. Because sometimes a person enters your life not to complete you, but to transform you, to sharpen your standards, to deepen your emotional awareness, to teach you that your heart deserves clarity, not endless guessing. At the same time, growth takes time for everyone involved. If this person truly loves you, they may be fighting private battles no one else can see. Battles between old hurt and new hope, between self-protection and surrender, between the habit of running and the desire to stay. Maybe they are somewhere right now replaying your voice in their mind, wondering whether they waited too long to be honest. That happens more often than people admit. Regret can become heavier than rejection when silence starts costing more than truth. Many people would rather avoid vulnerability for a little while than risk being hurt, until one day they realize that silence itself became the reason they lost what mattered. Never underestimate how deeply a person can feel what they do not know how to express. Some of the strongest love lives under restrained behavior. Not because restraint is ideal, but because human beings are imperfect. We are wounded creatures trying to survive our histories while still hoping to be loved completely. That is what makes love beautiful and painful at the same time. Two scarred hearts trying to trust each other. Two nervous systems shaped by different storms. Two inner children quietly asking the same question. If you really see me, will you still stay? And maybe that question lives at the center of your connection too, beneath the pride, beneath the silence, beneath the fear, beneath the emotional confusion. There may simply be a person terrified of not being enough for the one they love. Many distant people secretly believe they will disappoint the people who matter most, so they pull away before abandonment can happen naturally. If I stay guarded, maybe losing them will hurt less, but guarded love still hurts. Silent love still aches. Hidden feelings still leave scars, and after a while, the soul gets tired carrying truths that were never spoken aloud. That is why emotional honesty matters so much. Not performance, not manipulation, not dependency dressed up as romance. Just truth. Simple, vulnerable, real truth. The kind that changes everything once it is finally spoken. Truth sounds like this: I am scared, but I care. I do not fully understand myself yet, but you matter to me. I struggle with closeness, but losing you feels unbearable. Those are the moments that transform relationships. Those are the moments that break old patterns and create something new. And yes, if the other person reaches that level of honesty, what exists between you could change completely. But until that day comes, your job is not to lose yourself in waiting. Your task is to keep healing, keep growing, keep becoming whole no matter what the ending turns out to be. Your worth does not shrink because another person is fighting private battles. You are not hard to love. You are not too much for wanting consistency. You are not asking for the impossible when you desire clarity, presence, and emotional safety. Never let wounded people teach you that your needs are excessive just because they feel challenged by intimacy. Healthy love may not be perfect, but it should feel safe enough to breathe inside. It should not leave you constantly decoding silence. It should not turn your heart into a detective. One day, whether with this person or someone else whose soul truly matches your emotional depth, you will experience a connection where affection is not hidden behind fear forever. A connection where honesty replaces guessing. A connection where both people stop pretending they are untouched by each other. Stay with me, because there is still one more truth your heart may need tonight. This current connection may still have something important left to teach both of you. Maybe reconciliation, maybe closure, maybe awakening, maybe courage. Only time reveals that. But do not ignore what your soul has already been trying to say. Someone can love you deeply, imperfectly, quietly, and still fail to show up in the way love requires. Both things can be true. Feeling is not always the problem. Capacity is. A person may carry real love inside and still not be emotionally ready to hold it with steady hands. Healing is rarely quick. Emotional awakening is rarely clean. Many people only grow after nearly losing what mattered most. That is the tragedy of being human, but also the beauty of it. Because sometimes, when hope is almost gone, honesty finally arrives. Sometimes silence is not the burial of love, but the painful space before truth finds enough courage to speak. So before you decide you were never loved, remember this carefully. Not every distant heart has forgotten you. Some are fighting invisible wars between fear and feeling. Some are trying to become emotionally capable of the love they already carry. And if your heart still senses a connection that logic cannot fully explain, there may be a reason. But let that reason make you wise, not restless. Let it deepen your understanding, not trap you in endless waiting. That is the difference between hope and self-abandonment, and it matters more than most people realize. So protect your peace, but do not harden your heart. Stay tender without becoming easy to break. Stay wise without becoming cold. Keep your standards, keep your dignity, keep your softness too, because the people who still believe in love after disappointment are often the ones who meet it most fully one day. Maybe later you will look back at this chapter and see it differently. Not as the moment love disappeared, but as the moment two wounded hearts slowly stopped running from what they felt. Or maybe you will look back and see that this pain taught you how deeply you deserve to be met, not merely admired from a distance. Either way, this chapter is not meaningless. It is shaping you. It is refining your heart. It is teaching you to recognize the difference between longing and alignment, between intensity and peace, between being chosen in fantasy and being chosen in real life. Hold on to that lesson. Let it stay with you. Because somewhere ahead there is a love that will not ask you to shrink, chase, decode, or doubt your worth every day. And if this person is truly meant to meet you there, they will have to walk out of silence and into truth. Until then, honor what you feel, but honor yourself more. Your heart deserves love that is not only deep but brave, not only intense but clear, not only real inside someone's chest but real in the way they show up. And that is the kind of love worth waiting for, whether it comes from this soul or from the one still on the way.